Hey, mop guy, center mat. Now. Derek Shaw's voice cracked through the stillness of the Seattle dojo like a whip. His black belt, tied sharp and tight around his waist, glistened beneath the fluorescent lights, a symbol of his authority that he wore like armor. Let's give the class a little show, he said, his tone smug, loud enough to fill the entire room. At the far end of the mat, Jordan Kane, a black man, didn't flinch. He kept pushing the heavy mop across the floor, clearing away the scuffs left by the advanced class that had run over time. At 45, he'd been the janitor here for just a month, a quiet figure who only appeared after the students had bowed out for the night. I'm almost done here, Sensei, Jordan replied, his voice calm and even. He didn't look up, still working on a stubborn streak of rubber on the hardwood. Don't want to interrupt your instruction. Derek laughed, a loud, exaggerated sound meant to draw eyes. Look at this, everyone, he said, spreading his arms to his 10 students. The help's too scared to step on the tatami. Some students laughed nervously, others looked away. They'd seen this arrogant side of Derek before, but never dared speak up. Across the mat, a quiet storm brewed inside Jordan. 20 years of silence, 20 years since a ring, an accident, and a promise that had cost him everything. Come on, it's easy, Derek sneered, wearing that same condescending smirk he used on beginners. Let's show them the difference between a man who lives the art and one who just cleans up after it. He deliberately mispronounced Jordan's name. What is it again? Jason? Jordan? A flicker of heat burned in Jordan's chest, a dormant nerve shocked back to life. His eyes rose, meeting Derek's for a single charged second. Something ancient and dangerous flashed there, and for just that instant, Derek involuntarily stepped back. He cleared his throat quickly, masking the crack in his confidence. Relax, it's just an educational demonstration, he said, forcing a grin, a lesson in respecting hierarchy. Jordan set the mop and bucket aside. When he straightened, it wasn't with the stiffness of a janitor, but with the quiet grace of something long forgotten. All right, Jordan said evenly, his voice calm but firm, the kind of calm that arrives just before a storm. But when this is over, you will apologize to your students. You'll explain to them why you turned their dojo into your personal circus. Derek's laugh came brittle and forced this time. Apologize? Buddy, the only thing you'll be apologizing to is the floor, for hitting it so hard. No one in that room could possibly have known who they were really watching. Jordan, the Titan Kane, the 5-time world champion who'd vanished at the height of his career. He hadn't simply retired, he'd disappeared, haunted by the death of his best friend and training partner, Raphael the Storm Cruz. 20 years earlier, he had sworn never to fight again. But some oaths, born in grief, are broken for the sake of dignity. Derek puffed out his chest, soaking in the uneasy silence. Everyone, circle up, he ordered. You're about to see why there are levels to this, why a warrior is a warrior and a janitor is a janitor. Have you ever seen someone try to humiliate another person just to feel powerful? What would you do if the man trying to humiliate you had no idea he just picked a fight with the wrong person? Before we go further, what city or country are you watching from right now? Drop it in the comments. We love seeing where our viewers are tuning in from. And if you believe respect should never depend on a title, smash that like button and subscribe to Story Arc. For stories that prove real strength needs no rank. The students hesitated but obeyed, forming a loose circle around them. Jordan caught the mix of curiosity and unease in their eyes. Nora Patel murmured something to the man beside her, who only shook his head in quiet disapproval. Here we have, Derek declared grandly, gesturing toward Jordan, a perfect example of someone who doesn't understand that certain people belong in certain places. An elite dojo isn't for, well, you get the picture. The words stung, echoes of the same prejudice once hurled at Jordan from ringside crowds. But the fire that had once burned hot in him was now cold, controlled, and far more powerful. Sensei Shaw, Nora spoke up softly but firmly, maybe we could just finish our cool-down exercises. It's getting late. Derek's head snapped toward her. Miss Patel, are you questioning my methods? His voice dripped menace. Sit, watch, you might actually learn something. Jordan caught the fear in Nora's eyes, but also the defiance. So, janitor, Derek sneered, circling him like a predator testing its prey. You gonna show us that guard, or is forming a fist too complicated for a guy who holds a mop all day? The uneasy laughter from the students felt like gasoline poured onto a simmering fire. "What's wrong?" Derek goaded. "Cat got your tongue? Or are you waiting for the bus?" That's when Derek made his first mistake. He gave Jordan a light, mocking shove meant to assert dominance, but Jordan didn't budge. The push hit him like rain against stone, his stance unshakable. The smug grin on Derek's face vanished. For the first time, disbelief flickered across his eyes. "Interesting," Jordan murmured quietly, almost to himself. The single word cut through the silence like steel. "It's been a long time since anyone's put their hands on me like that." There was something in his tone, an eerie stillness that wasn't anger, but something more dangerous. It was the calm of a man who had already made peace with violence. Derek, blind to the warning signs flashing all around him, only doubled down. "You hear that?" he barked to his students, forcing a laugh. "He thinks it's interesting. Let's show him the difference between thinking something and knowing something." Every taunt and smirk awakened something in Jordan, not rage, but remembrance of who he truly was. Across the circle, Nora's fear turned to awe. His breathing shifted. Every movement coiled like a predator ready to strike. "So, Janitor," Derek sneered. He resumed circling with that same predatory grin. "You gonna show us how not to hold a guard, or is that too much for you?" Nora Patel's patience snapped. After years studying discrimination in sports, she knew exactly what she was seeing: textbook abuse of power. "Sensei Shaw," she interrupted, voice steady and clear. The dojo froze. "Can I ask a question? Why exactly do you feel it's necessary to humiliate a man who's just doing his job?" Derek turned slowly, his eyes narrowing to slits. "Excuse me, Miss Patel, who's running this class?" "You are," she said firmly, chin high. "But that doesn't give you the right to use racial humiliation as a teaching tool." Her words cracked through the room like lightning. Nervous energy rippled through the students. No one had ever challenged Derek. "Racial?" Derek barked out a humorless laugh. "This has nothing to do with race. This is about discipline, knowing your place." Jordan opened his eyes, studying Nora. Watching her stand up to a bully awakened something he thought was long dead. "Nora," Derek said, his voice dropping into a dangerous growl, "if you can't respect my authority, maybe you should find another dojo, one that fits your delicate sensibilities." The threat hung in the air like smoke. Then, to everyone's surprise, Jordan smiled. Slow and deliberate, like a man remembering who he truly was. For 20 years, he'd carried the weight of Raphael and Jade's deaths, but Nora's courage reignited something long buried. "The young lady has a point, Derek," he said evenly. "This isn't about martial arts. It's about you feeling big by making others small." Derek spun around, his face flushed crimson with rage. "You dare lecture me? You clean toilets. You don't know the first thing about what a dojo is." Jordan took one slow, deliberate step forward. The air shifted, his shoulders squared, his stance lowered, every movement radiated power and precision. The janitor was gone. The champion had returned. "Actually," Jordan said, voice like ice, "I know exactly what a dojo is, and I know it stopped being one the moment you turned it into your stage." A primal chill raced down Derek's spine. Every instinct screamed at him to stop, but pride wouldn't let him. "Enough talk," he barked, snapping into his fighting stance. "I'll teach you some respect." Jordan closed his eyes for a heartbeat and let 20 years of training flood back. The sweat, the blood, the discipline. When he opened them, Derek Shaw wasn't facing a janitor. He was facing Jordan, the Titan Kane, 5-time undefeated world champion. "Last chance to apologize," Jordan said flatly. "Apologize to her, to your students. Turn this place back into a school of honor." "Apologize?" Derek laughed nervously. "I'm going to put you on the floor." He lunged. Derek's pride was bleeding, cornered in front of his students. He lunged in frustration, throwing his weight behind a wild punch. "What's that stance supposed to be?" he barked mid-swing. "Where'd you learn that? YouTube?" "No," Jordan said calmly, sidestepping with precision. "I learned it at a place in Reno, the Crucible." The name hung in the air like a thunderclap. Nora Patel's fingers flew across her phone screen. When she read the results, her blood ran cold. The Crucible wasn't a local gym. It was legend. It was where champions were forged. Derek's response was a roar. His jab shot out like a piston, fast, practiced, brutal. But Jordan wasn't there. He flowed sideways like smoke, and Derek's punch sliced through empty air. A flurry of strikes followed, jab, cross, hook, each one sharper, more frantic. But Jordan was untouchable. He ducked, slipped, swayed, his movements impossibly fluid, every countermeasured, every dodge precise. The room filled with the sound of Derek's gasps for air. "Fight me!" Derek roared, launching forward in a clumsy burst of rage. Jordan stepped inside the attack, so close he could feel Derek's breath trembling. "You want to know the difference between a gym fighter and a champion?" Before Derek could answer, Jordan placed his open palm on the instructor's chest. It wasn't a strike, just a touch. Yet Derek's body flew backward as if hit by a car, crashing into the mat with a thud that echoed through the room. Derek lay sprawled across the mat, not broken by pain, but by the sheer impossibility of what had just happened. His lungs wheezed for air that refused to come. "That's impossible," he gasped. "It's physics," Jordan said calmly, standing over him. "A lifetime of practice." "Who are you?" Derek stammered, forcing himself upright on trembling legs. Before Jordan could answer, another voice cut through the silence, Nora's. Her tone shook, but her words were sharp and clear. Reading from her phone, she said, "Jordan Kane, the Titan, 5-time world heavyweight champion, undefeated." Each syllable landed like a hammer blow. The title alone shattered whatever arrogance Derek had left. His face went chalk white. He had tried to humiliate a ghost, a living legend. "If you had known," Jordan said softly, his voice cutting deeper than any strike, "you would have respected me. But what about the next janitor? The one without a title? Does he deserve less?" The dojo's office door flew open. Mr. Ito, the owner, appeared in the doorway, his expression carved from stone. He had seen the security alert. He had seen everything. His gaze first found Jordan, a flicker of recognition flashing in his eyes. Then he turned toward Derek, fury sharpening every step as he strode onto the mat. "Son," Ito said, his voice low and commanding, "take off your belt." "Sir, I—" Derek's voice broke, his face drained of color. "Now," Ito snapped. Defeated, Derek's trembling hands reached for the black belt around his waist. The symbol of his authority slipped free and fell to the mat with a soft, final thud. "You have brought shame to this house," Ito said, his tone cold as chipping ice. "You are not a sensei, you are a bully. Sign this resignation or I will make sure you never teach again. Anywhere." Ito slid a paper and pen across the mat. Derek stared blankly, then signed, the scratch of ink marking his fall. Without a word, he rose and left, a man undone. Turning to Jordan, Ito bowed deeply. "Kane-san, you've shown my students true mastery. Help me restore this dojo's honor, not as a janitor, but as a teacher." Jordan glanced at the fallen black belt, then at the students' faces. After 20 years of guilt and silence, peace finally found him. A real smile crossed his face, one born not of victory, but of release. "Yes," Jordan said softly, "I can do that." If you believe true power comes from humility, smash that like button and subscribe to Story Arc for stories that show that respect always wins in the end.